Breaking news from RTV6.
Thank you for joining us on HTSN and the RTV6 app. I'm Mark Mullins. Governor Mike Pence is preparing to make a big announcement regarding the state's Bureau of Motor Vehicles. It's part of a hastily scheduled news conference at the State House. We want to take you there live right now.
Great. Good. Thank you, man. Ready to go? Okay. Well, thank you all for assembling, and quick report on weather. The northern half of the state is currently under a travel watch or advisory due to winter weather that struck the state over the weekend. INDOT had a total of 580 plow trucks deployed statewide, and while it's been a mild winter, it was a tough weekend up north, and I'm very proud of the job our INDOT team did for Hoosier motorists. But on to the topic of the day, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Let me start off with a little bit of context. I think we've got the best BMV in America. A recent quarterly customer survey showed customer satisfaction in Indiana at 96.6%. Hoosiers, and I'm one of them that lived through it, saw the transformation a little more than half a dozen years ago of a BMV into a world-class customer service operation that reduced wait time in our branches, in some cases from hours to minutes, and every Hoosier is proud and grateful for that. The BMV operates, frankly, one of the most complex transactional systems in our state government, with millions of interactions with Hoosiers. Here's a couple of factoids for you. They register about 7.5 million vehicles every year, issue about 2.2 million license plates every year, titles for about a little more than 2 million vehicles. They collect $490 million in excise taxes, wheel taxes, surtaxes, and $420 million in fees per year, and distribute those fees to various state funds. All told, it rounds out to be an enormous amount of work that's done by 1,400 people that make up our Bureau of Motor Vehicle staff. Despite the extraordinary front office improvements in recent years, we're all aware of the challenges that in fiscal management that our Bureau of Motor Vehicles has faced in recent years. We all remember back in the fall of 2013, the state of Indiana preemptively offered a $30 million settlement in the form of a refund for Hoosier motorists for overcharges. Shortly thereafter, I was privileged to be able to appoint one of the most accomplished attorneys in Indiana, Don Snemis, to step in, not only as commissioner of the BMV, but also to help lead a thoroughgoing review of the law and the implementation of laws and assessments and fees within the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Since becoming the commissioner, he knows that my aim has been simple. I want the back office at BMV to run as well as the front office does. And Don's been working tirelessly over the last year of his tenure to accomplish that. He initiated building on a report conducted at the administration's direction by Barnes and Thornburg. I directed the BMV to engage the firm BKD to conduct an independent audit of BMV's transactions. But since his first day on the job, Don has been engaging in an in-depth review of the agency to good effect. From the time in the fall of 2014, when the state of Indiana distributed a $25 million excise tax refund, we not only initiated the work with BKD for an outside independent audit, but we also, under Don's leadership, we initiated for the first time ever a change in the employee handbook. For the first time in the history of the agency, the internal rules require all employees at the BMV to immediately report any overcharges and undercharges to the management and the legal department. This has resulted in facilitating an even more in-depth review, working with BKD, working with our internal auditors, and it is part and parcel of what brings us to today. These efforts have uncovered, I'm announcing today, additional overcharges and undercharges. And you should have before you a press release that enumerates some of those. Delinquent fees for mobile and manufactured home titles that affect about 21,000 Hoosiers over the last 6 years.
Yes, sir.
Totals about 450,000 in credits that will be offered. Reinstatement fees over the same period of time, and let me emphasize this is over the past 6 years in each of these cases. Reinstatement fees affecting about 6,200 people will result in amounts being returned in $1.2 million. There are miscellaneous fees and tax credits from antique motor vehicles to wheel taxes to photograph fee and the like. We anticipate about 2,600 people were affected by these. The sum total impact of the refunds and credits will be about $26,000 total. Finally, it's important to know that there could be more. Our review is ongoing, both in terms of our internal operations and working with BKD, and particularly we're working on issues related to excise taxes for RVs and motor vehicles. But as you can tell from the release in front of you, these particular categories amount to about $2 million in what will be amounted to refunds and credits to Hoosiers, and that'll be implemented over the next 2 weeks. In addition to refunding these amounts, I'm announcing the following changes at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. First, let me express my profound appreciation to Don Snemis for stepping into the gap and taking on a very tough job. And he's done it with grace, with poise. He brought his legal acumen to a process of evaluating an extraordinarily complex morass of more than 1,000 fees and taxes that BMV applies every day to Hoosier motorists. And Don, I want to thank you for the job that you've done. And Don will be taking his considerable legal talents to work at FSSA, where he will serve as special counsel for program integrity for FSSA. And Don, I want to thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you for your service to the people of Indiana. Secondly, today I'm announcing that Kent Abernathy, who currently serves as Chief of Staff to the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, will succeed Don as Commissioner of the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Kent is well known at the State House and across the state. He is a West Point grad, an Iraq War veteran. He has significant professional experience in financial services and commercial banking, and also state government experience. They will be making this transition shortly into the month of February, and I think Kent is uniquely qualified with his experience in state government as well as his experience in commercial banking to build on the progress that we have made in identifying the challenges, the internal challenges facing the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. And Kent, I welcome you aboard, and thank you. Thirdly, we've established and are establishing within the Bureau of Motor Vehicle a new internal audit department. This will carry on the work of the third-party assessment that we contracted with BKD, and will work in close concert with them. I've directed our Office of Management and Budget to embed auditors from the State Board of Accounts into this new internal audit department within the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. The SBA auditors, this will be important to note, the SBA auditors will report independently to the State Board of Accounts and not merely to their superiors at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, adding another layer of accountability. Next, BKD was originally expected to issue its findings in the fall of this year, but we have secured from them a commitment to complete their work in April of 2015. The audit will produce a management letter outlining recommendations, which will be made public at the time that it's completed. But again, I want to emphasize that the work, while it will be completed ahead of schedule, at our urging, the input from BKD informed the announcement and the changes that we're making today, and will continue to inform this process going forward. Lastly, beyond the changes in senior staff, internal audit department, and accelerating the external audit by BKD, we are working with Chairman Ed Soliday of the Roads and Transportation Committee to reform BMV's fees through the legislative process. We're working with House and Senate leaders to craft a bill that will streamline those more than 1,000 fees and taxes that BMV applies every day, and also clarify the statute of limitations that would to make sure that Hoosiers are compensated fairly and mitigates against any fiscal impact to local governments. Let me say that, as I mentioned earlier, what we have identified is both overcharges in the total amount at this point of about $2 million. But we've also identified undercharges, which by current estimates are significantly larger. But let me be clear on this point. There will be no effort by this administration or the Bureau of Motor Vehicles to recoup undercharge fees over the last 6 years. In fact, we're going to work with legislative leaders to change the law in many cases to bring it in conformity with the practice that has been in effect. In a word, we are going to change the law in favor of taxpayers. This will be a part of the development of House Bill 1393 going forward. So my goal is simple. I want to make the back office at BMV work as well as the front office. And thanks to the efforts of our outgoing commissioner, thanks to the internal changes that we're announcing today, I have every confidence that we'll accomplish that. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We will complete our external review ahead of schedule. We will complete it this spring. We will work with legislators in this session to make necessary changes in the law. I have every confidence that our team at BMV, if given the right tools and with leadership that Ken Abernathy brings out of his deep experience not only in state government but in the financial markets, that we're going to achieve that goal. We will fix this, and Hoosiers should be confident that very soon the customer satisfaction for which BMV is characterized in the front office will be married and matched to the efficiency and effectiveness of our back office operations as well. Questions?
Would any one person, Governor?
Now, breaking news from RTV6.